not thy silence, O God.
Keep not thy silence, O God.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace.
And be not still, O God.
And be not still, O God.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
They have said, come and let us cut them off.
They have said, come and let us cut them off.
From being a nation.
From being a nation.
That the name of Israel.
That the name of Israel.
May be no more in remembrance.
May be no more in remembrance.
For they have consulted together.
For they have consulted together.
With one consent. They are confederate against thee.
They are confederate against thee.
The tabernacles of Edom.
The tabernacles of Edom.
And the Ishmaelites. Of Moab and the Hagarenes.
Of Moab and the Hagarenes.
Jebal. And Ammon.
And
Amalek, the Philistines. With the inhabitants of Tyre.
With the inhabitants of Tyre.
Asher also is joined with them.
Asher also is joined with them.
They have helped the children of Lot.
They have helped the children of Lot.
Selah.
Selah.
Today's reading comes from Psalms 83, verses 1 through 8. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading, hearing, and doing of his word. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, so we want to welcome everybody to Render the Judah Bible Study class. And today we're going to be dealing with a lesson called The Israelites Identified by Their Curses. I'll be the teacher for today, Brother Reggie, and reading for me will be Brother Ken. And I'll say we're not really a new kid on the block as far as being in the truth, but as far as this organization just getting this up and going, this is our first Sabbath, so we're going to get this thing going and try to put this word out, the Lord's word. But we're going to deal with this lesson. I titled The Israelites Identified by Their Curses because you have a lot of people, we go by a lot of different names, and oftentimes, it's based off our citizenship here in America. But that's not our nationality. We have an actual nationality of who we are, and our nationality is that of the Israelites. And you tell people that we're Israelites, and automatically they link us with the other brothers, I'll call the super Hebrews, that kind of believe certain things are slightly different. They know who we are, but there's some slight differences there when it comes to having a right spirit and really going off a physical aspect of pursuing this word. So we're going to deal with it. We're going to look at it with the curses, because the way that we know that we're the Israelites is based off the curses that are upon us in this world. Not just here in America, but in this world. But we're going to particularly focus on here in America, where our homeland is for right now. Not our native land, but our homeland. And we're going to deal with it from that standpoint. So we're going to look at these curses, and we're going to be able to see and identify that these things that are happening to us are only happening to us. And the Bible says that these things have only happened to us. And this is how we know, and no one else can kind of take claim and say that nationally that they are the Israelites. We have a twin brother, Esau, that goes by the Jew. But see, this is a case of identity theft and identity crisis as it pertains to us, because we don't know who we are, and we have a twin brother, Esau, who's claiming that he's us. So we're going to look at this thing, we're going to dive into it here. We're going to open up in Genesis chapter 9 and verse 1. Genesis chapter 9 and verse 1. Genesis chapter 9, and we're going to open it up at verse 1. Because I've just over the years, coming into this truth, and you've seen several people, Israelites, basically say that they are the Gentiles. You have people believing that we are Gentiles. They believe that they Gentiles. But we're going to look at it and kind of iron this thing out. Genesis chapter 9 and verse 1. And when we get there, read.
And God blessed Noah and his sons, and he said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
So he's like, look, God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Because the earth was basically destroyed right after the flood as a result of sin. This happened in Genesis chapter 6, and we basically kind of almost in this same standpoint here today with what's going on, because things are getting worse. But let's get down to verse 8 and continue.
And God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you.
Now let's go to the next chapter. Let's go to Genesis chapter 10 here. Let's go to Genesis chapter 10. We're just going to read one verse. Genesis 10 and verse 1. Okay, read.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and to them were sons born after the flood.
So everybody on this earth come from one of these three sons of Noah. Shem, that would be us. That's what you call the Semitic people. Esau, our twin brother, who's calling himself us.
Right.
He is Semitic. That's our twin brother. You also have Ham, which are the Africans for the most part. Your Ethiopians, and I'm going to read them now. And you got Japheth, which would line up along the lines of the Gentiles. And we got something here, we kind of break it down. And this is from Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, page 213. And it just gives you a breakdown here, and it says, the first one we're going to look at is Ham. And this is one of Noah's youngest sons. It said Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. You see, we go by the moniker of Negroes. So even though you have another dark skin of black people, they're not the same. Because oftentimes growing up, you hear people saying things like, we sold ourselves into slavery. And it was people who were the same color as us, but they weren't the same. See, these people were Hamites, whereas we are Shem, we are Semitic. And the reason why that took place is we was in our native land in the east, and we had to flee west coming out, well, during the war, the Roman-Jewish wars of 66 to 70 AD, where we had to flee our land, our homeland, and we went west, and we ended up in the territory of the Hamites. And see, that's why they say black people we sold ourselves into slavery. But these were Hamites, whereas we were Shemites. We were different people, just same color. So it says, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood, he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. These are your Hamites. That's not our nationality, that's their nationality. And then you go to page 266 here in the Compact Bible Dictionary, and they have Japheth. And it has Japheth, son of Noah, had 7 sons. The descendants occupied the isles of the Gentiles. So all of Europe, Asia, all these things. And then let's go to page 544, and you have Shem. And now we get down to us. Because see, Shem, this is that lineage that Jesus came through in the flesh. And you have Shem, second son of Noah and progenitor of the Semitic races, was born 98 years before the flood and lived 600 years, outliving his descendants for 9 generations. So that's where we come from, Shem. But let's get back to the scriptures. Let's pick it right back up in Genesis chapter 10. This time we're going to pick it up at verse 2. Genesis 10 and verse 2. Genesis 10 and 2. And when you get there, read.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madiah and Javan and Tebal and Meshach and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz and Riphath and Togarmah.
And see right here, see, this causes a lot of confusion with brothers who do know that we are Israel. Because they see the word Ashkenaz, and see Ashkenaz, this is from the Isles of the Gentiles. And this is what we're talking about, Japheth. This is from the Isles of the Gentiles. And you have Jews, you have Ashkenazi Jews. But see, these are Jews who are converts. You know, they are Gentiles, but they converted to Judaism. You know, they are not Semitic. They converted to that. And then you have your other Jews who are calling themselves us. They are Semitic. So all Jews, because you have brothers there called Esau, a Gentile. But these are from different sons. You know, Ashkenaz is from Japheth, all of the Gentiles. Whereas Esau is our twin brother. He's Semitic. He's from Shem. So these are not Gentiles. Even though they look white, they are not Gentiles. But verse 3 and continue. No, verse 4 and continue.
And the sons of Javan, Elisha and Tarshish, Kittim and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their land, everyone after his tongue, after their families in their nation.
He's like, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands. And the Gentiles wasn't in the land of Israel. Esau was in Shem. Esau was softer there. And so when 70 AD took place, the Roman Jewish wars, we fled west. and Esau moved north into our territory. We fled our land, so now they're saying they're us. They just moved right across the border, and now they're saying they're us. And if you look into the encyclopedia and do your research, they let you know that in 70 AD, the Edomites, because Esau is Edom, they're the Edomites, that's their nationality, it says that they vanished. A whole race of people vanished. And they didn't vanish, they committed identity theft.
Right.
And they saying they us now. That's what happened. But that was verse 5. Skip down to verse 8 to 10. So verse 6, I'm sorry, verse 6.
And the son of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan.
And see, these are your Ethiopians, your Kenyans, your Somalis, all these people. Skip down to verse 22 of the 10.
The children of Shem, Elam, Asher, Faxad, and Lud, and Abram.
Let's get down to verse 30 and continue.
And their dwelling was from Mesha, and thou goest unto Sephar, a mount of the east.
Let's get down to verse 32.
These are the family of the sons of Noah after their generations in their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood.
By these, out of all the races of people, they come from one of these three sons. You have people that say, FBA, you have people claiming us, saying that we are native to America. We may have been born here, but we're not native to America. We are native. Our nationality is Israel, the land of Israel. We've been scattered as a result of slavery and not following the law. And that's what this lesson is about. But it's like by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. So even though you might have people like, for example, you might have people that are called Native Americans or Maroons or whatnot, when you rewind the tape and go all the way back, you trace it right back to Israel or one of these three sons of Noah. But let's go further. Let's go to 1 Chronicles chapter 1, and we're going to pick it up at verse 24. 1 Chronicles chapter 1, and we're going to pick it up at verse 24. 1 Chronicles 1, and we're going to pick it up at verse 24. Because we're going to kind of get into this and show when the Israelites first came about, and then we're going to look at the curses that lets us know who we are. Because it was a sign that happened that we didn't listen to the Lord and follow the Lord. And it was also a sign that the things that happened to us, they're not happening to anybody else. Right. It's a sign to show that we are those people. 1 Chronicles chapter 1 and verse 24. And when you get there, read.
Shem, or Faxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Sherug, Nahor, and Terah. And Abram, the same as Abraham, the sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael.
Because see, they'll let you know that Abraham is the father of all nations, particularly like the Israelites. But he was also the father of the Abrahams, because that's Ishmael. Right. Because he had a son with Hagar. And you have the Bible that talks about the Hagarites. See, these are Ishmaelites. These are the Arabs, people in Saudi Arabia, Abidat, all these different places. This is what they're talking about. But now we're talking about Abraham, the same as Abraham, the sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael. So let's go take a look at Abraham. Let's go back to Genesis. Let's go to Genesis chapter 15. And this time we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Genesis 15, we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Genesis 15 and verse 1. And we're going to start kind of walking this thing down and get into the Israelites here. Genesis 15 and verse 1. And when you get there, read.
After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eleazar of Damascus? And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir.
So he's like, look, Lord, what are you going to give me seeing I have no seed? He's like, look, I have somebody born in my house that's going to be my heir. And the Lord's like, no, this shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir. Verse 5.
And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be.
And see, that had to be a lot of people back then. But see, some things happened. See, like back then, eventually come out being a majority. But see, that's not the case these days. Because if you look in the sky, you see tons of stars. So if something happens, see, we're going to touch back on that. But he's like, look now towards heaven, towards the sky, and tell the stars if thou be able to number them. Because see, that's impossible on a nice night when you really see bunch of stars. And he said unto them, so shall thy seed be. But let's skip down to verse 8 and continue.
And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it?
Let's skip down to verse 12 and continue.
And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
See, people get this misconstrued. Because see, they'll think that we've been here in America for 400 years under captivity, and see, that's not the case. But see, particularly right here, what they was talking about is us coming out of the land of Egypt under Pharaoh, which we came out after the Passover on the Feast of Unleavened Bread. See, they wasn't talking about 400 years here in America. But see, they had instances where we was in captivity 430 years. But at the same time, history kind of repeats itself when we find ourselves here right here again in captivity, because we are in captivity because we're not in our native land. We here in Baton Rouge. We're not in our native land in Jerusalem or whatnot. And see, that's what the whole thing with the gathering, where the Lord is going to gather us back to our land, because he had his covenant that he would bring us back into the land. He's like, no, but surely that thou seed should be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Because I remember some years ago, right before 2019, you had some of the brothers that know that we Israel as well, some of the Hebrew brothers, they were saying in the year of 2019 that the Lord was going to return, because they was looking at this. But see, they wasn't talking about that. See, they was talking about what happened in Egypt under Pharaoh. But let's go for that. Was verse 13, verse 14.
And also their nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance.
With great substance. See, that's what happened. See, we came out with a great substance because at midnight, when the Lord sent that 10th plague amongst Pharaoh, it killed all the firstborn. So when people woke up and seen all this going on, they was like, look, y'all take this gold, this silver, our clothes, and get out of here. And so they came out of there with great substance. This is when it happened. Because see, we know we ain't talking about these days, because we ain't coming out with no substance right now. So we know we're not talking about right now. He's like, that was 14, verse 15.
And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in the good old age.
So let's go forward. Let's go to Genesis chapter 25. Because see, we always talking about getting these reparations, and see people trying to collect it and start movements to try to get reparations right now. But see, we're going to read that, look, that's going to come during the time of after the Great Tribulation. When you would, the same way how they got the reparations when they was on their way in the quest to go into the promised land, same way, same thing. Going into the 1,000-year millennium period, 1,000 years of peace, that's when you'll get your reparations for the people who make it during that time. Genesis chapter 25, we're going to pick it up at verse 11. Genesis 25 and 11, and when you get there, read.
And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt by the well of Lahario.
That was verse 11. Let's get on to verse 19.
And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac.
So now we about to get into the lineage of the Israelites. He's like, these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. Now, Abraham also had another son, Ishmael. But see, the covenant was with Isaac. Ishmael, that's mostly more of your Muslims or whatnot, what you have today. But verse 20, continue.
And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, a daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord.
So she got pregnant. The Lord entreated the Lord, Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife. And he said, and when she conceived, she was pregnant, basically, like, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And when she went to inquire of the Lord, verse 23.
And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
Basically, you got twins, but you got 2 nations.
Yeah.
You got a nation of Israelites, and you got a nation of Edomites. Basically, that's what Esau would be. Esau is Edom. He's an Edomite, 2 separate nations. You can't call Edom an Israelite because it's a different nation. And see, they let you know, and see, these are Semitic people. Because see, you'll have people, you talk about, you tell them who the real Israelites are, saying it's us. They can't fathom that because we are dark-skinned people, and they look at that mostly like the Gentiles or somebody light-skinned. And they can't really fathom that we are the real, true Israelites. But that is the thing, that is the case. And see, Edom, what's going on? But see, we have lost our identity, and we going by African American. We identifying ourselves by our citizenship and not by our nationality. Whereas Edom is trying to identify a false nationality, and they call themselves Israelis. See, that's in a citizenship. Israelis is a citizenship, not a nationality. But let's go further. That was verse 23, verse 24.
And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over, like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau.
And see, this is where it goes left right here, because you have brothers like, see, who red? And they'll show like a white child, a white baby. But see, we gonna read an article, you got a whole class of people you call Creole. We down south. Creole, they red, but you don't call them Gentiles.
Right.
You know, mulatto people, they red, you don't call them Gentiles either. But see, they say because it's red, Esau is a Gentile. And see, this is a whole different type of nationality with they mixing up. But that's verse 25, verse 26.
After that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew. And Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau, because he did eat of his venison. But Rebekah loved Jacob.
It was like, look, Isaac, he loved Esau, you know, because he liked to be out in the field and hunt and stuff. But Rebekah, she loved Jacob. And we're going to look at this with Jacob, verse 29.
And Jacob saw it pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom.
Because Edom, it means red.
Right.
You know, so he's like, look, feed me some of that same red pottage. And see, basically what he's talking about is like some lentils, some red beans, and some stew, basically. So he's really giving everything up for a bowl of red beans and some stew. That's why he would not be the chosen people. That's why I say, look, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He don't say Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. Right. That's the thing. But that was verse 30, verse 31.
And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am to a point to die. And what profit shall this birthright do to me?
So he was being over dramatic. He didn't catch anything when he went out to hunt. So he's like, look, I'm about to die. I just want some red pottage. You can take this birthright. Verse 33.
And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he swore unto him. And he sold his birthright unto Jacob.
He sold it. Jacob ain't steal it. Because you got false pastors that say he stole it. But he sold it for some red beans and some rice.
Right.
He sold it. He sold it.
Yeah.
You know, verse 34.
Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
He despised his birthright. He despised it. But let's go further. That was Genesis 25, 34. Let's go to Genesis chapter 27. Let's go over a couple chapters. Genesis 27, we're going to pick up at verse 41. Genesis 27, and we're going to pick it up at verse 41. Because see, the Bible lets you know, look, I think that's really why they kind of tried to take that identity from us, because it lets you know, Jacob have our love, Esau have our hated. So if you're known as this group or this nation of people that is hated, something transpired 70 AD, but the actual people who we love flees west and end up in captivity. You move on in saying you them. All of a sudden you ain't the people that he hate. You masquerading as the people that he loved. See, this is what took place. Genesis 27 and verse 41. And when you get there, read.
And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob.
And see, we fast forward for time's sake, but see what took place. Jacob would end up putting goat's hair on himself because Esau was hairy, and he took the direction of his mother Rebecca. Because see, the Lord had appeared to Rebecca and told her what was going to go.
Yeah.
The elder was going to serve the younger, so she knew what she wasn't lying. See, the Lord had already shown her how this thing was supposed to go, and she was stepping up, following the words of the Lord, the direction of the Lord in this thing. It's like the days of mourning with my father, he was like, I would slay my brother. So he wanted to get rid of his brother because he sold his birthright. And so Isaac would give the blessing to Jacob, thinking he was Esau, because Isaac had got old and his eyes were dim, he couldn't really see. So he just felt them and smelled goat, like he had been hunting, and he gave the blessing to Jacob and not Esau. And Esau was mad after he sold it to him in the first place. With verse 42 and continue.
And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, proposing to kill thee.
So he could be mad. He sold his blessing, his birthright, and now he want to kill his brother. Verse 43.
Now therefore, my son, obey my voice and arise. Flee to Laban, my brother, in Haran.
So let's go further. Let's go to Genesis chapter 28, right to the next chapter. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 28, and we're going to pick it up this time at verse 10. Genesis 28, and we're going to pick it up at verse 10. Because see, we got a lesson where we kind of broke down the genealogy of the different Israelites. See, we're not going to do that in this particular lesson, where we show out of 4 women, Rachel and Leah, who were sisters. When he fled to Haran, they were sisters, and each one had a handmaid. You had Bilhah, and Zilpah. Between those 4 women, you had all your Israelites come from those 4 women. All your 4 tribes came from those 4 women. And that's when you got your Israelites. When Jacob started having sons, that's when the Israelites came on the scene. So that was that Genesis 28, and we're going to pick it up at verse 10. Genesis 28 and verse 10. When you get there, read it.
And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was setting. And he took of the stones of that place and put them for his pillows, and lay down in the place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set upon the earth, and at the top of it reached to the heaven. And behold, an angel of God ascending and descending. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed.
He's like, look, he's seen a ladder set up on the earth, and on top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. It ain't say people were ascending and descending on it. Because you got a whole song, people, this is some of those verses right here in particular, people think that they go to heaven. You got a whole song, Stairway to Heaven. A stairway to heaven. People think that you get to heaven. But that's not it. It's like, behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham, thy father, and the God of Isaac, and the land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. See, this is that promised land. This is that land of Canaan that we were rushed out of. We were sent away into the 4 corners of the earth, basically, because of sin and not following his commandments. See, this is that land that we're trying to get back to this time from a spiritual standpoint. New Jerusalem. That was verse 13, verse 14.
And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed.
He's like, look, so this is something else right here in verse 14, because it's almost like it's foretelling what would happen to us as far as the captivity goes. Because make no mistake, we in captivity right now, but we're not in our land. You can have a house paid for. Don't pay your property taxes. They will do something about that. We paying for something that the water is over 70%. The earth is over 70% water. We have to pay for that. You know, these are times. It seems like, look, and thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed.
Right.
So it's almost like it's foretelling that, look, y'all gonna be scattered to the four winds of heaven. And this is before we had even sinned and broken the covenant with the Lord. Verse 15 will continue.
And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of.
Like, look, in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Because it's just like, say, same type of setup like with Levi, the first son, who were the priests. They had the charge of doing the ordinances and preaching the word of God. They were the priests. But see, things went left with that. So now we all been scattered in the four corners of the earth. But see, Levi didn't have a particular land like the rest of the 12 tribes. They didn't have a particular land, so they were spread amongst the 12. The 12, so they were spread amongst them. And so it's just like us. You know, now we're not in our land, we spread all over the earth. For to do the ordinances and to be the light, so that all families of the earth should be blessed. It just, the problem is that we have to do it from a standpoint, from a position of being cursed. That's what's going on. That was verse 15. Let's go forward. Let's go to Genesis chapter 32. We go to Genesis 32, and we're going to pick it up at verse 24. Genesis 32, and we're going to pick it up at verse 24. So even though we're not in our native land, the Lord is still serving his purpose for those who know that they are Israel and get understanding and become spiritual Israel to be a light to others. The Lord still serving his purpose, even though we from a standpoint of being cursed. Genesis 32 and verse 24. And when you get there, read it.
And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed.
Because see, his power in that name, but see, this is one of the Lord's name here. See, we known by all these other names. You know, my last name Miles,
Right.
Your last name Payne.
Right.
See, we named after our, mostly the plantation of the slaveholders of generation there. We don't have our native lands because in Israel, everybody's last name was Israel.
Right.
That's why you have a lot of brothers who wake up into this truth. They start changing their names and calling themselves Israel, last name. It's like, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. And this is where you started having the Israelites come on the scene. By that name, it's like, for as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and has prevailed, because that's the playbook. It's meant for us to prevail and understand and wake up and know who we are, to get back to that promised land that we were kicked out of physically, to make it back there spiritually. This is the whole thing, because we got the land, we got the last name, our surname, the last name of the Lord, Israel. And let's show you that. Let's go look at that. Let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter 7. 2 Chronicles chapter 7. Second Chronicles chapter 7. We're going to pick it up at verse 13. Because see, you have brothers and people, they call themselves all kind of nicknames. And see, we got to name one of God's last name. But we don't act like a people of God. Lord's like, look, if you keep my commandments and listen to my voice, indeed, you will be a peculiar treasure unto me above all the families of the earth. A priest, a nation of priests, a holy, that's how it was supposed to go down with us, but that's not how it played out. We're going to read it, 2 Chronicles chapter 7, we're going to pick up at verse 13. 2 Chronicles 7 and 13, and when you get there, read it.
If I shut up heaven that there be no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people.
Mm-hmm.
If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land.
So he said, look, if my people, which are called by my name, is the Lord named black?
No.
Is the Lord named African American?
No.
It's not. His name is, one of his name is Israel. It's like if the people that are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Let's go further. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 45. We're just going to read one verse. Isaiah 45, and we're going to read one verse. You see, no other nation or people can say that they have a name of the Lord. No other people but us. So we are special people, but we don't know it.
Right.
That's why we're trying to get this truth out here to open the blind eye and open up the deaf ears and whatnot, because people do not know who they are. We identify ourselves by our citizenship. Isaiah 45, we're going to pick up at verse 4. Just going to read that one verse. Isaiah 45 and verse 4. When you get there, read.
For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect, I have even called thee by thy name, I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known
It's
me.
like, for Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect,
Right.
I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, meaning your last name, though thou hast not known me, because that surname is Israel. That's who we are. Let's go further. Let's go to Exodus chapter 2. Exodus 2, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Exodus 2, verse 1. Get that myself. Exodus chapter 2. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1 this time. Exodus 2 and 1. And when you get there, read.
And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took the wife, a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived, and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him the ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid him in the flags by the river spring. And his sister stood afar off to see what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to bring it.
So this thing is lining up just like how the word of God is supposed to line up. Because back then the Levites were the priests. And here we about to talk about Moses. This is what we talk about Moses.
Right.
Moses was a Levite.
Right.
So this thing is right in order for a priest of the Lord from the tribe of Levi to lead the people to salvation or to the promised land. And this is right here. But that was verse 5, verse 6.
And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrew children.
Ain't that something? So he said this is one of the Hamites. He said this is one of the Hebrew children. Hebrew Israelite. This is one of the Hebrew children. So even they were black themselves, and Egyptians, Hamites, they knew this is a different nation,
Right.
different nationality. Like this is one of the Hebrews' children. Verse 7.
Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it.
So Pharaoh's daughter took the child to go nurse it, and she was going to claim it as her own.
Yeah.
Verse 10.
And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him out of the water.
So close to looking at like you can claim it as your son.
Right.
Two black-skinned people. That's why I say when they talk about we sold ourselves into slavery. No, we talking about Pharaoh's daughter, who was a Hamite,
Right.
taking in somebody from Shem who's Semitic,
Right.
Israelite. That's
Right.
what's going on. Verse 11.
And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out into his brethren and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren.
So he see an Egyptian beating on one of his brethren.
Yeah.
A Hebrew. Let's see what he did. Verse 12.
And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand.
And see, you can just read this verse right here, and you know he's talking about us. Because he has got stuff. It don't just go by a fight. We end up shooting somebody.
Yeah.
Even Moses, way back here, he's like, he looked this way, looked that way, and committed a crime,
Right.
killed his brother. That's what took place, killed the brother. So you just can't fight these days like back in the old days.
Yeah.
They got to end in bloodshed.
Right.
All the way back here with Moses.
Still killed.
And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian. He didn't just beat the man for beating his brother, the Hebrew. He killed him.
Right.
And then buried him, hid him in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 13.
And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strode together. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thy fellow?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killedest the Egyptian?
Mm-hmm.
And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known.
He looked this way and that way, but they had somebody looking at him from another
Yeah,
direction.
from another.
He's like, man, I killed somebody. I got to get out of here. Let's see what happened. Verse 15.
Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But he fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian and sat down by the well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the throes to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, how is it that ye are come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us to water the flock.
Ain't that so? Dark skinned people, they thinking he was an Egyptian, he a Hebrew. He's an Israelite, and they thinking he was a Hamite. That's what's going on. Skip down to verse 23 and continue.
And it came to pass in the process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of bondage, and they cried. And their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage. And God heard their groanings, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them.
So this is what we was reading about them being in captivity, being oppressed by people for 400 years. The Lord had respect until they cried, because see, Moses would be the one that would lead them out of this on the path with the Passover and unleavened bread. They would leave out of there on the Passover after midnight. They would leave out, and they had to take their bread because they couldn't waste time to make it, to raise it, because it was lined up like that way, because the next day would be the feast of unleavened bread. That's how this thing went, but they left out of there on the Passover. Let's go further. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and start getting to this. Because see, when you read Deuteronomy, you really understand Deuteronomy 28. There's no way you should be able to think that this Bible is talking about anybody else but us. Because Deuteronomy 28 is basically slavery, particularly here in America. And not just here in America, but around the world, just for the plight of Israel as a whole. You read Deuteronomy 28, this is slavery in and of itself right here. This is it. Deuteronomy, we're going to go Deuteronomy 28, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Deuteronomy 28, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. And when you get there, read.
And it came to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
And see, the Lord is fair and just. We had an opportunity to be set on high above everybody else.
Yeah.
We had the opportunity, but we fumbled, we dropped the ball. Let's go for that verse 1, verse 2.
And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
It's like, look, you know that ain't what's going on right now. It's like, all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee. You just overran by being blessed. You know we ain't in that predicament thing. It's like, if thou shalt hearken or listening to the voice of the Lord, and that's why. Because don't nobody want to hear about the Lord. It ain't but a few of us. We just starting this our first day. People out there, tailgate, LSU homecoming, Southern homecoming. They want to listen to other things. They're not really worried about listening and hearkening to the voice of the Lord. Skip down to verse 8 and continue.
The Lord shall command a blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The Lord shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, and he has sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and walk in his ways. And all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee.
He's like, and all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord. That name, Israel. Israel, that's the name of the Lord. And that they shall be afraid of thee, because they know that the Lord is on the outside.
Right.
But see, that ain't what's going on. We don't see what room we went in through the womb door. We chose what was behind the wrong curtain here. That was verse 10. Let's get down to verse 13.
And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath, if that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day, to observe and to do them.
To observe and do them, because you can't leave out doing them, because see, people might observe, but if you ain't doing them, like they say, faith without works is dead, being alone. You got to have some works to go with this thing. Verse 14.
And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand nor to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
And see, whenever you see if, that's a connotation. It can go either way. And see, we took the wrong way. We going down a road that say wrong way, because you had all these blessings that could overtake us. We took the wrong, because on one side of the coin, if you got a blessing, on the other side of the coin, you got to have a curse. And that's what we about to look at. This is how we identify. That's why I labeled this lesson, the Israelites identified by their curses. He's like, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and do all his commandments, not some of them, saying some of them been done away with, all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Let's get to it, verse 16.
Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field.
Curse you gonna be in the city, no matter where you at, in the city or in the rural area. There ain't that many people out there, you curse. Skip down to verse 20 and continue.
The Lord shall send upon thee cursings, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thy hand unto do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me.
He's like, look, it ain't gonna take place slowly. He's like, look, until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. Verse 21.
The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee far off the land, whether thou goest to possess it.
See, the pestilence can be anything, like a virus. It can be any kind of sickness, anything that go on, like COVID, that's a pestilence. And you look at what the pestilence that go on, they hit us way harder than they hit other groups of people. Because we don't have the right amount of support from the land that we're in as far as healthcare and all these other resources. You look into certain neighborhoods, and if they were trying to make this thing equal, you look at the certain neighborhoods, you have better schools, particularly in the suburban neighborhoods. Now, if you were trying to, do the right thing by people, the citizens of this country, you would have better schools in the less fortunate areas. But it's not like that. It's not like that. You got worse schools there, so they're not helping you out here. That was verse 21. Skip down to verse 23, continue.
And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron.
And see, that ain't good. Because see, if the heaven that's over your head is brass, that means whenever you pray and send prayers up, they not quite reaching the Lord. They ain't quite getting there. You ain't got no rain coming down to water your fruit, so you can be fruitful for your crops. And it's like in the earth that is under thee shall be iron. So if the earth is iron, you definitely ain't got no crops springing up out of the ground. So this is a bad predicament to be in right here. That was verse 23, verse 20, get down to 25 and continue.
The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them. And thou shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
He's like, look, he's going to cause thee to be smitten before them. They're going to see this. Thou shalt go out one way against them, shall flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So remember when we read, he was telling Jacob that they was going to be spread from the north, the south, the east, and the west. And so we look at it, it was supposed to be from a blessing standpoint. It ends up that this happened as a result of a curse. That was 25, skip down to 28, continue.
The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at the noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee.
And see, this is something else, and this is like I was talking about. Ain't nobody trying to reach out and save us. He's like, the Lord should smite thee with madness. He ain't talking about just being angry. He's talking about crazy. You done lost your mind. You delusional. You thinking you a Gentile. You an Israelite. You thinking you supposed to be worshiping on tomorrow, Sunday, and the Lord has his Sabbath for the day, which is one of the 10 commandments. And you'll go in there, they have it on the wall on the Sunday church for Sunday service. They'll remember my Sabbath. And they'll be there on the Sunday. I used to think when I was there that the Sabbath was on the Sunday, because I see it on the wall, but that's not the case. The Sabbath is the day. It's like, thou shalt smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Verse 29.
No, we just did 20.
That was 29, I'm sorry, verse 30.
Thou shalt betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and thou shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
See, this is something else. You're going to have a wife. Another man shall lie with her.
Right.
This happened with slavery. The master come in there, take your wife.
Right.
As a result, it happened so much. Like I was saying earlier, we got Creoles, mulattoes, Cajun, and I got an article talking about with the Creole, with the mulattoes. This is from encyclopedia.com on the mulattoes. It says, the term mulatto referring to an individual of mixed white and black ancestry has been in use for centuries. It's been going on for hundreds of years. From the inception of the continental slave trade through the era of legal segregation, mulattoes have been a constant reminder of the historical raping and coercion of black women. In some instances, the unions between white men and black women, as well as those between white women and black men, were thought to be consensual. However, the majority of unions were a result of violent sexual coercion by whites in an effort to enforce the racial oppression of blacks. The raping and sexual coercion of black women by white men prompted governments to enact anti-miscegenation laws throughout the southern United States. These laws were not constructed to protect black women from rape or to discourage white men from having sexual relations with black women. Rather, the laws ensured that the children of these forced unions could not claim rights to inheritance of freedom. So we're looking at what this is. See, this happened to us. We're reading history, American history, actually. It's like an anti-miscegenation laws vary from state to state. But the main objective was to protect the institution of slavery and wealthy landowners' inheritance. It says, enslaved black women were regularly raped and then witnessed the selling of their mulatto children, who in most instances looked too much like their masters. They were light-skinned, they weren't Gentiles, they were light-skinned. They looked too much like their masters to keep them on the plantations. The mulattoes' population grew rapidly during the slave era. In the 1860 census, mulattoes in the South represented over 10% of the slave population and nearly 37% of the free black population. It became increasingly difficult for white slave owners to sell slaves who looked as white as or whiter than the person purchasing them. However, because of their lighter complexions, when mulattoes were sold, they were purchased for a higher price than that paid for dark-skinned slaves. So if you were light-skinned, because I remember back in the day, used to have people, they were light-skinned, they thought they were all that used to say. And I guess it was just one of those sticking on one of these things. Remember those times, Brother John? Remember those times? It's like, in addition to the mixed race population, that resulted from the raping of African women in the United States. There was a large infusion of mixed race people from Haiti, into southern Louisiana. So you got a lot of Haiti roots right here, because you had a lot of that going on, because that whole land of Haiti, that whole land with Haiti that shares with Dominican Republic, it was known as Hispaniola, because you had the British that came there and the Spanish. It's on the side where you have what today is Dominican Republic. They still speak Spanish. And see, they was known as Santo Domingo. And on the side where it's Haiti, that was known as Saint Domingue, they speak French. And so you got a lot of people with those roots down here in Louisiana, particularly New Orleans, Lafayette, places, even Baton Rouge. And see, they speak French. And see, that's known as Haiti. And it says, mixed race people from Haiti into the southern Louisiana. The connection between Haiti and Louisiana became reinforced in the 1790s when the French, driven out of Haiti by mulatto revolutionaries like Vincent Ogilvy and others, transplanted island culture to rural Louisiana. In fact, the Louisiana Purchase took place as a result of the Haitian Revolution. Because see, with Vincent Ogilvy, he was a mulatto. And this led, that rebellion opened the door for the Haiti Revolution that took place in the late 1700s, early 1800s, with Toussaint Overture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines. You had Henry Christophe, and you had Alexander Pichon. They known as the four founding fathers. These brothers was lining up and getting rid of all, not the Poland Gentiles, but they kind of fell on their side. And they started doing a lot of mixed race stuff after they took over Haiti. They took over Haiti. And see, we talking about Haiti and Haitians, but these are Israelites.
Right. Yeah.
These are Israelites we talking about here. But let's get back to the scriptures. Let's go to, pick it right back up at Deuteronomy. We're going to pick it up this time in Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 31. Deuteronomy 28 and 31. So we just read that article that proves what it's talking about here. What we just got to read in verse 30. How another man going to betroth your wife. And we got all these mixed races and different colors and skin tones of people as a result of slavery, a result of this curse right here. Deuteronomy 28 verse 31. When you get there, read it.
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given into thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them.
See, they ain't going like, look, let me borrow this here. They just take it violently, kill you, take it violently. Verse 32.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given into another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall no might in thy hand.
He's like, look, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes gonna look like they just come take your child. You in Louisiana, they come take your child, sell them in New York, but to go into slavery. These are the things that took place, and the Lord is prophesying, is letting you know as a result of the curse, this is what's going to happen to you. This happened so long ago. This happened to us, to our forefathers. This is why we are the way we are today. Verse 33 continue.
The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall the nation which knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and cursed always.
Like, you only going to be oppressed. Because you had a chance for the blessing, but we didn't hearken to the Lord. You only going to be oppressed this time around. Verse 34.
So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see.
Because see, when you see stuff like that on TV, it will make you mad. It's just like with George Floyd. I was watching it, and I had to understand that time. I've been in this thing for a while. I was looking at it, that kind of made me mad when I seen it. Because this was a modern day lynching. He died by the same means. It just didn't use a rope. But he died by a mechanism of asphyxiation. It was asphyxiation. It was just a knee to the neck. And I was looking at that. It kind of made me upset. And I had to remember, look, this is the curse that's on us. This is what's going on. Verse 36 and continue.
The Lord shall bring thee and thy king which thou shalt set over thee into a nation whither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone.
And that's what we're doing. Getting ready to go celebrate Halloween. Gearing up for the holiday season. And we're supposed to be celebrating holy days, not holidays. We gearing up to serve other gods, wood and stone, Christmas, all these other things. Verse 37 continue.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword amongst all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Like, look, you're going to become astonishment, just confused, a proverb and a byword. That's why we known as African Americans, black, Negro, Afro-Negro, the N-word. These are bywords. These are not who we are. These are bywords. And then you got the proverbs. Those are those sayings. Black lives matter. Hands up, don't shoot. No justice, no peace. These are proverbs. These are things that identify us. This is what's going on. That was verse 37. Skip down to verse 41 and continue.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity.
Like, look, thou shalt have sons and daughters, but you ain't gonna enjoy them, because they gonna go into captivity. And you can't enjoy them, but then they send them into captivity early. And I got another order just to show you how this thing is kind of playing out. This is something I printed, and it just shows an advertisement to sell us. It says, valuable game of young Negroes will be sold at auction on Wednesday 25th at 12 o'clock at Banks Arcade. 17 valuable young Negroes, men and women, field hands, shall sold for no fault. They ain't do nothing wrong with just sell them. This is profit. With the best city guaranteed, sale positive and without reserve, terms cash. New Orleans, Louisiana, March 24th, 1840. These were advertised. Like, we get the Sunday paper, we look at advertising with Best Buy and Walmart. These were the kind of advertisements they was publishing in the newspaper back then. Selling up. This is the stuff that was going on. Let's get back to the scripture. That was verse 41. Skip down to verse 43 and continue.
The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
Like, look, the stranger that is within thee, look, they're going to get up high, very high, and thou shalt come down very low. And we in a low space these days. Verse 44.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
Look, we borrow money from their credit unions and stuff. And then you have these false prophets and stuff like that, these organizations. I remember when I was growing up, I was in the Baptist church, you know, it'd be hot or whatever, we get the fan, we fanning, you know, Martin Luther King on the fan, or Mahalia Jackson or something like that, on the fan, or Jesse Jackson. On one side of the fan, on the other side of the fan, Imperial Credit Union, Rose Credit Union. It's in there for you to borrow some money or something like that so that they can lend to you and you not lend to them. And then this is in the church. That's supposed to be for us. And they directing you to borrow money from these loan sharking financial companies. This is something else. That was verse 44, verse 45.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he command thee.
So just like how the blessing was supposed to pursue and overtake us, we didn't go down that route. So now the curse is going to pursue and overtake us because we didn't hearken to the Lord. That was 45, verse 46.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
And this is why I labeled this lesson, the Israelites identified by their curses, because it shall be upon thee for a sign. It's a sign, for one, that we did not listen and follow the Lord's commandments. It's a sign in that regard, for one. For two, it's a sign because this ain't happening to nobody else like how it's happening to us. The curses identify who we are. Let's go take a look at it and see that. Let's go to Daniel chapter 9. We're going to pick it up at verse 7. You can put a marker right here in Deuteronomy 28 and we'll come right back. Daniel chapter 9 and verse 7. The curses identify who we are. And see, we got people that look around, they know something is wrong. They know that I heard people say, look, the Bible, they're talking about us. But they will not call themselves an Israelite. They will not call themselves an Israelite. They know that the Bible is talking about us. Daniel chapter 9, we're going to pick up at verse 7. Daniel 9 and verse 7. And when we get there, read.
O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day to the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and to all Israel that are near and that are far off through all the countries whither thou hast driven them, because their trespasses that they have trespassed against thee.
It's like, look, confusion of face as at this day. See, when you see as at this day, even though they're talking about them, see, that's profound. That kind of generate through generations through time.
Yeah.
It's like to the men of Judah, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to all Israel that are near and that are far off through all the countries, whether thou hast driven them, because we ain't just here in America, we scattered around the earth. He's like, the country whether thou hast driven them because of their trespasses that they have trespassed against thee. Verse 8 continue.
O Lord, to us belongeth confusion of face, to our kings, to our princes, to our fathers, because we have sinned against thee. To the Lord our God belongeth mercies and forgiveness, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord thy God, to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants the
We
prophets.
still ain't obeying.
Oh,
We still ain't obeying. Just next door, we got a prophetess dealing with the word. Just right next door, prophetess dealing with the word. You know, still ain't obeying. Some about the law been done away with. People out there tailgating, barbecuing ribs and pork chops and stuff like that on the Sabbath. Getting ready for the football game. We still ain't obeying this stuff. That's why they say many are called, few are chosen. That's why it ain't a handful of us. We're going to get this word out because it's the right time to be dealing with this word right now. Because the Lord let you know in the last days, he's going to pour out his spirit upon all flesh. And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. And we are in the last days, so more and more people are going to start waking up and catching wind to this true word of God. That was verse 10, verse 11.
yeah, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in thy law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him.
It's like, look, all Israel have transgressed thy law. All of them, still doing it. Even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse, not the blessing, the curse is poured upon us. And the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him. Verse 12.
And he hath confirmed his word which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven has not been done as had been done upon Jerusalem.
And that's how we can identify. That's why it's full of sign and a wonder. Because of under the whole earth, he's like, he hath affirmed his word which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us this great evil. For under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done unto Jerusalem. Nobody checks the boxes of this curse like how we do. Other people have bad things happen to them, but they don't check the box. You can't look in the history book and see these other groups, see Gentiles being sold to other Gentiles. You can't look in the history books and see all these other groups being sold. At a time, you did have the Hamites that were sold into slavery or whatnot, but the Lord prophesied that in the book of I think Genesis and Jeremiah, that it was going to only last 40 years, not over 400, playing over and over again. Like under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done to Jerusalem. But this is specific to us. That's how we know who we are.
Right.
Because nobody else can lay stake to their claim of being cursed like how we are. Verse 13.
As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us. Yet made we not our prayers before the Lord our God, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand thy truth.
Israel, just don't stop. Even when it's going wrong, just stop and just head to a crash course. Just don't stop. Right to the lake of fire. It's like, yet, like as it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil has come upon us, yet made we not our prayer before the Lord our God, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand our truth. That's why we still in this predicament. It's people that's going to raise out of it. That's why I wanted to name this organization, this church that we doing the remnant of Judah. The remnant will be gathered. It's going to be saved. Now he said he's going to call all Israel, but at the same time, he let you know in Ezekiel 20:38 that he's going to purge out the rebels.
Right.
So you have people that just ain't going to know how to act and just ain't going to make the cut. Verse 14 continue.
Therefore have the Lord watched upon the evil and brought it upon us. For the Lord our God is righteous in all his works which he doeth, for we obey not his voice.
The Lord is righteous. We ain't doing what we supposed to do. We not being righteous. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28, this time we're going to pick up at verse 47. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 47. Because you have things happen, you know, the cops or something, shoot one of us, kill us. We go right there, marching on Capital City Hall. Right there marching. And who leading the march? The false prophets, the Sunday pastors. Mixing spiritual word, religion, with politics. And we talked about that with Brother Showing yesterday. And that's what you want to happen, because see, as long as you can mix politicians into the word of God, now they can kind of exert their power and maintain it. They don't have to bow down to this higher power. And you mix it because we are under the government. And where we really supposed to be under the government of God. That's how you have this movement of mixing politics and religion together. Deuteronomy 28, we're going to pick it up this time at 47. Deuteronomy 28 and 47. When you get there, read.
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with gladness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Wherefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until thou have destroyed
See,
thee.
I didn't bring the picture, but you got a picture. You got pictures of brothers in slavery with a big old yoke of iron around their neck. But he was talking symbolically as well. He's like, look, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. I mean, when we was kids, we used to be riding around, we see something nice, we live in the hood, you know, we ride around, we see something, we like, bingo. We bingo for that car. You know, we bingo, remember that? We say bingo. At a young age, we want for nice things. Want of all things. Verse 49.
And the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
And see, yeah, the eagle is one of the symbols of America and everything, but they ain't talking about America specifically here. They talking about as swift as the eagle, talking about the speed of how fast this thing was going to take us, because he said, if we do the right thing, the blessings will pursue and overtake us. But we didn't do the right thing, so the curse pursued us and overtook us as swift as an eagle. Verse 15 continue.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard a person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
They don't care how old you are or how young. You going into slavery, or you getting whipped with lashes. 100, 200, 300, 400 lashes. You see people back and look like a road mat.
Yeah.
So many lashes. One person that gave you 100 lashes, they need a drink of water. It's hot. Somebody else come on shift and whoop you 100, 200 more lashes. These are the things that went on. Till you pass out, still whip you. Skip down to verse 52 and continue.
And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fence walls come down, wherein thou trusted throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee.
He's like, look, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates. We build up something, they come take it over and burn it down. Until thy high and fence walls come down, wherein thou trusted throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God. I got an article on there to show how this happened. Just an example that this is still talking about us. And the name of this is on the website I was looking at, Black being successful and thriving black communities destroyed by racist white neighbors. And on first up on the list, and this is just one of many. First up on the list, the Atlanta race riot of 1906. It says, when the Civil War ended, African Americans in Atlanta began entering the realm of politics and establishing businesses and gaining notoriety as a social class. Increasing tensions between black wage workers and the white elite began to grow, and ill feelings were further exacerbated when blacks gained more civil rights, including the right to vote. The Atlanta Georgian and the Atlanta News began publishing stories about white women being molested and raped by black men. See, this was a thing for some years. Still even going on a little bit today. Somebody put a false claim, say this had happened, but it ended up home or whatever, castrated or whatever back then. It's like these allegations were reported multiple times and were largely false. On September 22nd, 1906, Atlanta newspapers reported 4 alleged assaults on local white women. The newspaper, the media is involved with this. That's how you know this is a curse. You see, these are powers that be that we don't have no control over. The media is egging this on the line. Soon, some 10,000 white men and boys began gathering, beating and stabbing blacks. It is estimated that there were between 25 and 40 African-American deaths. It was confirmed that there were only 2 white deaths. Then you got Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, better known, everyone knows as Black Wall Street, between May 31st and June 1st, 1921. During the oil boom of the 1910s, the area of northeast Oklahoma around Tulsa flourished, including the Greenwood neighborhood, which came to be known as the Black Wall Street. The area was home to several lawyers, realtors, doctors, and prominent black businessmen, many of them multi-millionaires. Greenwood boasted a variety of thriving businesses such as grocery stores, clothing stores, barbershops, banks, hotels, cafes, movie theaters, 2 newspapers, and many contemporary homes. Greenwood residents enjoyed many luxuries that their white neighbors did not, including indoor publishing and a remarkable school system. No, we talking about way back in the early 1900s. The dollar circulated 36 to 100 times, sometimes taking a year for the currency to leave the community. This is a thriving community. Let's see what happened though. The neighborhood was destroyed during a riot that broke out after a group of men from Greenwood attempted to protect a young black man from a lynch mob. On the night of May 31st, 1921, a mob called for the lynching of Dick Rowland, a black man who shined shoes. After reports spread that on the previous day, he had assaulted Sarah Page, a white woman, in the elevator she operated in a downtown building. In the early morning hours of June 1st, 1921, Black Tulsa was looted, firebombed from the air by the government, and burned down by white rioters. The governor declared martial law and National Guards arrived in Tulsa. Guardsmen assisted firemen in putting out fires, removed abducted African Americans from the hands of white vigilantes, and imprisoned all black Tulsans not already confined. Now, what kind of assistance is that? You bring the National Guard to rescue these people, but you're going to hold them in a safe place in the prison. This is something else. This is the curse. Not already confined into a prison camp in the convention hall in the fairgrounds, some for as long as 8 days. In the wake of the violence, 35 city blocks lay in charred ruins. Over 800 people were treated for injuries, and estimated 300 deaths occurred. This is the curse. Even when we started to thrive, it came in swift as an evil, that curse, and just decimated what we had. The Chicago race riots of 1919. It says the Red Summer of 1919 marked the culmination of steady growing tensions surrounding the great migration of African Americans from the rural South to the cities of the North during World War I. Chicago was one of the northern cities that experienced violent race riots during that period. Drawn by the city's meatpacking houses, railway companies, and steel mills, the African American population in Chicago skyrocketed from 44,000 in 1910 to 235,000 in 1930. When the war ended in 1918, thousands of white servicemen returned home from fighting in Europe to find that the jobs in factories, warehouses, and mills had been filled by newly arrived Southern blacks of immigrants. On July 27, 1919, an African American teenager drowned in Lake Michigan after he challenged the unofficial segregation of Chicago's beaches. It was stoned by a group of white youths. His death and the police refusal to arrest the men who caused it sparked a week of race riots between black and white Chicagoans, with black neighborhoods receiving the worst damage. When the riots ended on August 3rd, 15 whites and 23 blacks had been killed, more than 500 people injured. This is some of the stuff. And then you have Rosewood. You know, Rosewood would happen in Florida. So Rosewood was a quiet, self-sufficient whistle stop on the Seaboard Airline Railway in Florida. By 1900, the population of Rosewood had become predominantly African American. Some people formed or worked in local businesses, including a sawmill and nearby Sumner, a predominantly white town. In 1920, Rosewood blacks had 3 churches, a school, a large Masonic hall, turpentine mill, and so that's where they went wrong, having a Masonic hall, a sugar mill, a sugarcane mill, a baseball team, and a general store The village had about 2,000 plank two-story homes, some other small houses, as well as several small unoccupied plank structures. Spurred by unsupported accusation that a white woman in Sumner had been beaten and possibly raped by a black drifter, white men from a number of nearby towns lynched a Rosewood resident. When the black citizens defended themselves against further attack, several hundred whites combed the countryside, hunting black people, and burning almost every structure in Rosewood. And the list goes on. You had the Washington, D.C. race riots of 1919, and the Knoxville, Tennessee race riots of 1919. New York City draft riot of 1863, East St. Louis massacre of 1917. All thriving communities, things being destroyed because of this curse. But let's get back to the scripture. Let's go back to we left off at 52. Let's pick it up at 58. Deuteronomy 28. And this time we're gonna pick it up at verse 58, because I just wanted to read the show. Because see, all the time when you read your Bible, you see things being prophesied, saying that they happen. But see, when you can look in history and see outside your window or in the history books, you see that this thing came true. And you can identify and see who is who and what's gonna happen. And we're looking at these things that are happening. But see, the problem is they not saying this happened to Israelite towns. They said this happened to African American towns. We being identified by the Bible. This happened to blacks. This didn't happen to the Israelites. But see, we say the Israelites, we don't go right here to this Bible. Pick it up at verse 58. Deuteronomy 28 and 58. When we get there, read.
If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear the glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God, then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed even great plagues, and of long continence and sore sickness, and of long continence.
It's like, look, the Lord will, and the Lord, like, if you want to listen to the Lord, like, He's gonna make your plagues wonderful. He's gonna make it more potent, more deadly, more frequency of having, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and long continuance, and sore sickness of long continuance. You know, have chronic illnesses, high blood pressure, diabetes. It hit us more than any other race. Oftentimes because of not keeping the dietary law, eating pork, eating all these other things that just shoot your blood pressure up and your cholesterol off the charts. These type of things as a result of disobedience. That was verse 59, verse 60 continue.
Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness, every plague, which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed.
Now, how is it that we the minority, but we need the other races and stuff like HIV and cancer? Gotta be a curse. This thing gotta be fixed. This is what it's like, all the stuff that is not written in this book. COVID, cancer, AIDS, all kind of things. Verse 62 and continue.
And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God.
Like, because he told Abraham, like, look, if you look out at the stars, count the stars, that's how many you couldn't count. But now, that ain't happening, because what do we go by? The minorities. We minorities. As a result of the curse. We were supposed to be many, but now we minorities. He's like, whereas, he's like, you should be left few in number, whereas you were as the stars of heaven for a multitude, because thou wouldst not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. Verse 63.
And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught. And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it.
He was taken from the land and came to the promised land. Now we all scattered into the four winds, the four corners of the earth. You know, right here today, this ain't Jerusalem, this ain't Israel. We just Israelites. We're a long way from home. Verse 64.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even to the other. And there shalt thou serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind.
And so he's like, and among these nations, it ain't just America, it's Germany, it's the UK, it's everywhere, it's around the world. Wherever you find Israelites, that curse on us. Like neither shall, he's like, and among these nations shall thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. We hate going to work. I know I do. We hate going to work.
Yeah.
That was a curse. You know? It's like, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling of heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. Verse 66.
And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life.
Ain't that so? Every time somebody be killed with the George Floyd thing, Trayvon Martin, you get, you know, and seeing then they run these little black town halls about equality and stuff.
Yeah.
And what happens? You have people like, I'm scared to, you know, take my son and walk outside. This is the curse. Thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. You don't know if you go get some donuts or something, the cops pull you over mistaken identity and ask for your ID, you might end up shot.
Right.
You know, you have people, you know, they wrong person they stop. Tell them to put their hands up. He got a cell phone, on the phone, shot.
Right.
Pull a brother over, trying to reach for the taser, reach for the gun, shoot him. Brother in his house, Dothan John Dallas, cop, go to the wrong house, drunk on drugs, something.
Yeah.
This brother in there eating ice cream.
Yeah.
Go to the wrong door, go in there and shoot the brother.
In his house.
In his house, say he broke in. This is the stuff that's going on. This is a curse.
Right.
Is what this is, in other words. You don't have any insurance. You don't know if they're going to, you know, pull you over and they're just the wrong cop. And just your time. You don't know. You know, none assurance of thy life. Verse 67.
In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were evening, and at evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
You don't know if you better off in the daytime or at night.
Right.
Another proverb coming to play.
Right.
If it ain't one thing, it's another. One of those cliches. That's what those proverbs are. Verse 68 continue.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
But let's unpack this, because see, we know we came over here on ships.
Right.
And see, we didn't go back to Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
So this was speaking symbolically, because see, spiritually and symbolically, the condition we was in hard bondage in Egypt.
Right.
So we were just going to have that condition being sold on ships elsewhere around the whole entire earth.
Right.
But it says, by the way, and that's how we came on ships.
Right.
We were stacked up on them ships like cargo. It's like, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bond men and bond women, basically slave men, slave women. But they say you're going to be sold. And then they say no man going to buy you. Now, I read an article where they had an advertisement for us buying and selling slaves. But they not talking about ain't nobody going to buy you once we get here. They let you know that ain't nobody going to give you no reparations. And so you had our twin brothers saying that they are us, Esau, which are the Edomites, saying they us. But see, when the Holocaust took place, they got reparations for that.
They did.
So somebody bought them for their trouble, their hardship.
They did.
The Asians for Hiroshima, Japan, they got reparations for that. The people who be talking about something, we Native Americans, we really Indians. The Indians got casinos all down here for, you know, the invasion of aliens. They got reparations for that. We the only ones for all the stuff we've been dealing with for over hundreds of years, centuries, haven't got anything. Haven't got anything. So this is talking about us. That's why they say under the whole heaven hath not happened as hath happened to Jerusalem. This is us. Because everybody else don't check that box. Let's go further. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 15. We coming down to the end now. Jeremiah 15. And we're going to pick up at verse 1. Jeremiah 15 and verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 15 and verse 1. But see, that's the problem with the false churches or whatnot, false prophets. They're not identified. See, the book is sealed unto them.
Yeah.
You know, they'll be talking about they got the Spirit of the Lord, but they're not warning you and telling you anything. They're not reading these scriptures. Because see, when you read this, you see that this is talking about, you're like, hold up, this is talking about us. The first thing why I want to do this first lesson, because it ain't until you will find out who you are. When you find out who you are, then you can kind of get on the track of what you're supposed to be doing. Identify and link up with your culture. We got a culture, and our culture is that of the Lord. We the Lord's people. We got his name, Israel. Jeremiah 15 and verse 1. When you get there, read.
Then said the Lord unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be toward this people. Cast them out of my sight and let them go forward.
Lord, like, look, get these people from me. You know? Lord, like, get them out of here. You know, sometimes you have kids, they just going AWOL. Like, look, just get up, go. Lord, like, look, just like his children.
Yeah.
Like, look, go. Verse 2, continue.
And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith the Lord, such as are for death to death, as for to the sword, as for to the famine to the famine, and such as are for captivity to captivity.
Oh, there's some rough directions right there. Somebody asks you, where I'm supposed to go? Like, such as for death to death, you're going to die. You're going to go there to the grave. And such as for the sword to the sword, you're going to get shot or something. You know? Or such as for the famine to the famine. You're not going to have what you need. Water, food. And such as for the captivity to captivity, you're going to be enslaved. That's something else. Go down to verse 4 and 2.
And I will cause them to be removed into all kingdoms of the earth, because of Manasseh, the son of Hezekiah, king of Judah, for that which he did in Jerusalem.
Go down to verse, go ahead, verse 5.
For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? Or who shall bemoan thee? Or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest?
Ain't nobody doing that. When the last time they did that? Like, for who shall have pity on thee? Like, look, African Americans in this country have been going through so much. We need to do something to help these people out.
Right.
When the last time they said that? Or ever said that? He's like, who shall have pity on thee, O Jerusalem? Or who shall bemoan thee? Or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest? Like, look, y'all go through a lot. Y'all all right? Ain't none of that going on. Ain't none of this stuff going on. This is talking about us. Verse 6.
Thou hast forsaken me, said the Lord. Thou art gone backward. Therefore will I stretch out my hand against thee and destroy thee. I am weary with repenting.
Lord, like, I'm tired. That's why you're going to go to death as the death, and the sword and the sword, and the famine, captivity. Like, I'm tired. I'm tired of trying to repent and hold myself from doing this. We just let the curse on us. That's the thing. Let's go further. Read verse 7 and continue.
And I will fan them with a fan in the gates of the land. I will bereave them of children. I will destroy my people, since they return not from their ways.
You see, when I look at it, you can see one of the laws that people often overlook was, see, the parents were supposed to have this law. That's how you maintain a generation. Teach this law to thy sons' sons.
Yeah.
See, that ain't going on. And see, the kids be out there on the news after committing a crime or getting killed or something like that. And the parents be going crazy, like, that shouldn't happen to my son, or whatnot. But we should have been teaching them this law, so we can have a certain covering over us. But we the chosen people of the Lord. Not saying things ain't gonna happen, but they wouldn't be happening at the frequency and at the clip that they are taking place as a result of this curse. Let's go further. Let's go to the next chapter, Jeremiah chapter 16, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 9. Jeremiah 16 and verse 9. Jeremiah 16, and this time we're going to pick it up at verse 9. And when you get there, read.
For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will cause to cease out of this place in your eyes, and in your days the voice of mirth, and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride.
Boy, that's something else. See, people mirth, that means like rejoicing, just having fun. Out there tailgating, just having a blast, drinking beer, He's like, look, the days come that, look, I'm going to cause to cease out of this place, and in your eyes and in your days, the voice of mirth. Ain't going to be so fun after a while. The Lord let you know, look, he's going to come back with his mighty angel, with flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not God. And the voice of gladness and the voice of bridegroom, the voice of the bride. Verse 10.
And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt show this people all these words, and they shall say unto thee, wherefore hath the Lord pronounced all this great evil against us? Or what is our iniquity? Or what is our sin that we have committed against the Lord our God? Then shalt thou say unto them, because your fathers have forsaken me, saith the Lord, and have walked after other gods, and have served them, and have worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my law. And people ask like, look, why all this stuff happening to us? He's like, this is what you tell them. Because your fathers have forsaken me, saith the Lord, and have walked after other gods, and have served them, and have worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and they kept my law. They talk about it been done away with. Verse 12. And ye have done worse than your fathers. For behold, you walk every one after the imagination of his evil heart, and that they may not hearken unto me. But see, people like, you ain't gonna tell me what to do. I'm gonna do what I want to do. But see, that don't work with the Lord. Verse 13. Therefore will I cast you out of this land into a land that ye know not, neither ye nor your fathers. And there shall ye serve other gods day and night, where I will not show you favor. And see, this is where we are. But see, this is also something interesting in 13, because see, when we came over here as slaves, we were speaking more of our native language, Hebrew or whatnot. But here we come over here, they speak English. So you have to be taught a foreign language. And they looked at us because we didn't know how to read, and they always had the perception painted in our minds. We didn't know how to read and do these things because we were dumb. But we was not from here. We couldn't understand English. And then they didn't want to give us books and things like that, so we could understand and read and whatnot. You know, they had you reading certain verses and scriptures, had a slave reading certain scriptures to keep you and show you supposed to, you know, honor your master. You know, stuff like that. These are the things that were going on, keeping you dumb. You know, that verse 13 is like that. You know not, neither ye nor your fathers, and there shall you serve other gods day and night, where I will not show you favor. Because keeping Christmas and all this stuff, and we'll do the lesson in the right time for about that. This is how you're not going to have favor. These are traditions of the people who are around about us. We wasn't doing that in our land, and when we started doing it, it's how we got kicked out the land. Verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Let's go further. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 42. Isaiah 42. And this time we're going to pick it up at verse 18. Because I always wondered about that. I was like, man, he didn't know how to read. But see, because I look at my son. In his school homework and stuff like that. Christopher Columbus, Napoleon. We ain't learning about, you know, our people. We ain't learning about Moses and things like that. You know, we learn about their history. We're not learning about our history. So we just don't know who we are and the accomplishments of what we have done. You know, we don't know. A black man created, it wasn't Thomas Edison or Alexander Graham Bell that did the telephone, or Thomas Edison that did the light bulb, that it was Louis Latimer that did both. We don't know that it's somebody, a black man, the Will McCoy, who built trains, black people who built dry cleaners, the peanut, everything, almost every invention, because we was enslaved in captivity, we could not claim the patent to it. Because they came in and took our cattle, our sheep, and our lands, and they took our ideas. They put their name on it as well. This is what happened as a result of the curse. Isaiah 42, we will pick up at verse 18. Isaiah 42 and 18, when you get there, read it. Hear ye deaf and look, ye blind, that ye may see. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I sent? Who is blind as he that is perfect, and blind as the Lord's servant? So we know they ain't actually physically blind, right? Because they, you know, they can do some dirt, they can go see to go do some dirt. And we know they ain't deaf either, because they can dance and all this stuff, do everything else.
So we know we ain't talking about physical, we talking about spiritual blindness. Spiritual deafness. Verse 20.
Seeing many things, but thou observest not, opening the ears, but he heareth not.
How do you have people talking about, yeah, I'm woke. I'm red people. I'm woke. You might be woke, meaning that you're aware to what's going on, but you ain't woke until you got some understanding and know the solution of how to make it out that predicament. You just aware. You have waken up to what's going on around you, and that ain't hard to see. But you ain't woke. Because the Bible don't call it woke, the Bible call it quickened.
Yeah.
So you need to be quickened, not woke. That was verse, he's like seeing many things, but thou observest not. Opening the ears, but he heareth not. Verse 21.
The Lord is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He will magnify the law and make it honorable. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid away in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivered them, for a spoil, and none said restore.
God says, like, this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared away. They are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses.
Yeah.
How is it that we are the minority in this world, in the country, but the majority in the prisons? This is a curse. This is talking about us. It's like, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith restore. Now, you had certain presidents come along and pardon and exonerate brothers, but look how long they had to be there, and they didn't even do anything. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, they life gone. You know, they life gone. And they finally find out that, you know, this white person that said this, you know, you innocent. You can go home and try to make a living after 50, 60 years of being institutionalized, locked in the cage. This is something else. This is a curse. Verse 23.
Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord? He against whom we have sinned? For they will not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient to his law.
So see, the thing ain't being mad at the white folks. It ain't being mad at them. The thing is, the Lord did this. We don't get mad at the mechanism that he did this. He used to do this, which would be the group of people, the ranks of whatever, whoever's in power. We don't get mad at anybody but our forefathers and ourselves for not walking to the Lord. But he's like, did not the Lord? He's like, who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord? He against whom we have sinned, for they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient to his law. So are we in the same predicament today as what you think gonna happen if we looking at the trajectory of how these things are going? Verse 25.
Therefore he hath poured upon him the fury of his anger and the strength of battle. And it had set him on fire round about, yet he knew it not. And it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart.
Ain't that something? We on fire. Our situation is on fire. And we'll say something smooth, we don't know that it's us. We on fire. It's like, therefore he poured upon him the fury of his anger and the strength of battle. And it set him on fire round about, yet he knew it not. And burned him, yet he laid it not to heart. This is something else. Let's go to Hosea chapter 4. Hosea 4, and we're going to pick it up this time at verse 1. Hosea chapter 4, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Because you got some people just going out there, you know, they know their situation ain't good, but they ain't giving them, you know, they not giving a thought to it. You know, they just say it is what it is. But it wasn't supposed to be like that. And it don't have to be like that if you seek the Lord with all your heart and with all your soul. You know, you have to seek the Lord. Hosea chapter 4, we're going to pick up in verse 1. Okay, read.
Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel, for the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, no mercy, or knowledge of God in the land.
No truth, no mercy, and no knowledge of God in the land. Still to this day. Worshiping on the wrong day, calling it the Sabbath. Eating what you want to eat, eating something that's against the dietary law, and blessing the food and say a prayer before you eat. Verse 2 and continue.
By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out and blood touches blood.
Like by swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, physically and spiritually for the most part, more so. They break out and blood touches blood. Because it's a cycle. You kill somebody, now they want to come kill you. Because at the end of the day, we are just instruments. We are doing this to ourselves. And then what happens once we gone? What happens? The spirit that's a part of that person goes to somebody else. Because these spirits don't die, but we do. That's the thing. Let's get down to verse 4 and continue.
Yet let no man strive nor reprove another. For thy people are as that thou strive with the priest.
So look, the priest should be telling you the right way to go. A false pastor, a false priest. Like, yet let no man strive nor reprove another. For the people are as they that strive with the priest, talking about the false priest. So they're not going to give you good instructions of the law. That's what they're talking about here, verse 5.
Therefore shalt thou fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night, and I will destroy thy mother. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children.
Like, look, we destroy for a lack of knowledge. Because if we think when we die, we go to heaven, well, if you had knowledge, you would know that thy kingdom come, that will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We might have the direction of the coordinates to be in the right place. But because we are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, we don't know. We in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is what's going on. He's like, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. And we looking at what's going on with our children today. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. Let's go further. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 51. We're going to read one verse. Isaiah 51, and we're going to read one verse, verse 20. Let's see, they let you know in the book of Judges that there came a generation that knew not the Lord. And see, we in that generation right now. Ain't trying to know him. But see, it's been lost a couple of generations ago. We didn't teach our sons, our children. Isaiah 51 and verse 20. I'm just going to read that one verse. And you there?
Thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the streets as a wild bull in the net. They are full of the fury of the Lord, the rebuke of thy God.
I think that's so. Because see, they don't really be out there like that probably around here, but in other places where it's gangs and stuff like that, you go around there with the wrong baseball cap, the wrong color, they asking you what set you from. The sons have fainted, they lie at the head of all the streets, and the head of the streets is talking about the street corners. On the corners. As wild bulls in the net. Man, you got to check in to be safe in your own blighted neighborhood. You should be trying to make a way out of there. But you got to check in with some people that look just like you so that you can be safe. This is the messed up thinking that we're in. This is the astonishment that we have today. Let's go to Zechariah 11. Zechariah 11, verse 4. See, this is the astonishment of mind that we have. But you know who don't have to check in those run down neighborhoods? Whereas we got to check in with each other, which is crazy. The cops that shooting us down. And the Asians that have the stores on each corner. Maybe the Mexicans that cut out grass and stuff like that. You know, the Arabs that move into the hair stores and all these things. We ain't making them check in. And we don't need to be making them check in, but what I'm saying, the point is we shouldn't be making each other check in either. That's crazy. Zechariah chapter 11, and we're going to pick it up at verse 4. Zechariah 11, and we're going to pick this up at verse 4. And when you get there, read.
Thus said the Lord my God, feed the flock of the slaughter.
The Lord calls us the flock of the slaughter. We shouldn't kill so often and so frequently. We the flock of the slaughter. Verse 5 and continue.
Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, And their own shepherds pity them not.
Ain't that so? Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty.
Right.
Because if a cop shoot us and we ain't have a weapon on us, what they say? I fear for my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's enough to get them off the hook from doing time, or doing a lot of time. And they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. They call it a blessing to sell us into slavery. Ain't that so? That's a blessing. That's growth for them. They figure they blessed because they ain't looking at us like that. And like our own shepherds who supposed to know the law, the pastors, they ain't pitying us because they trying to do the same thing. They trying to come up off us. That was verse 5. Let's go to Zechariah. No, let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 4. We're just going to read one verse. Ecclesiastes 4, and we're going to read one verse, verse 1. We got a few more. Ecclesiastes 4, and we're going to pick up this time at verse 1. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, we're just going to read that one verse, verse 1. Ecclesiastes 4 and 1, and when you get there, Ecclesiastes chapter 4 and verse 1, and when you get there, read.
So I returned and considered all the oppressions that are done under the sun, and behold, the tears of such as were oppressed, and they had no comforter, and on the side of their oppressors there was power, but they had no comforter.
It's like, so I returned and considered the oppression done under the sun, and it's been we talking about here. And behold, the tears of such as were oppressed, and they had no comforter. And on the side of their oppressors there was power, but they had no comforter. We don't know where to look there. Well, the Bible tells us to look and seek the Lord. But we have this tangible faith. We're looking for something that we can see, we can walk to, we can go there, we can march to. Whereas this faith here, this being here that we got to see, you got to pray, you got to have faith, you got to believe. That's the thing. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 5, the next chapter. Ecclesiastes 5, we're going to read one verse. Ecclesiastes 5 and verse 8. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 and verse 8. You get there? Read.
If thou seest the oppression of the poor, and violent perverting of judgment and justice in the province, marvel not at the matter. For he that is higher than the highest regarded, and there be higher than they.
So this thing gonna turn around. They doing what they did. We have to curse on this. But see, the Lord ain't tell them to hang as many of us like how they did. Then when they hang burners and tie on the back of a pickup truck and drag us through the city. He ain't tell them to castrate us and do all these kind of things, to rape us and to rape the boys and the women, because they did it to boys as well. He ain't tell them to do all that. See, that's why the Lord let you know, look, vengeance is mine. But see, they took this vengeance to another level and did it their own self to this magnitude. He's like, look, if thou seest the oppression of the poor and thou perverting the judgment and justice in the province, and we see that, marvel not at the matter, for he that is higher than the highest regardeth. So we know who the high, but the highest would be the Father. The Father got seeing this as well. He's like, and there be higher than they. Let's go further. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 1. Zechariah 1, and we'll pick up at verse 13. So even though we got that curse on it at the same time, the Lord made a covenant that he was going to gather us. So he's going to turn this thing around. He's going to turn this thing around. Zechariah chapter 1, we're going to pick up at 13. We just got a few more. Zechariah chapter 1, and we're going to pick up at verse 13. And when you get there, read.
And the Lord answered the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So the angel that consumed with me, so the angel that communed with me said unto me, Cry thou, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and with Zion with a great jealousy.
The Lord's like, look, I'm jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with great jealousy. Because we got his name. The Lord know that this thing is just unbearable for what we're doing, but we did it to ourselves. The Lord's like, look, I'm jealous for Jerusalem still. You see, I made a covenant for them. They got my name. I gotta turn this thing around.
Right.
Verse 15.
And I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the
The
affliction.
Lord's like, look, I was just a little displeased. But see, the heathen that's at ease, and we can just look around, it's like they helped forward the affliction. They made this thing worse than what it was supposed to be. And they kept their foot on our neck. Even made up laws to maintain this position of power. Verse 16.
Therefore, thus said the Lord, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies, and my house shall be built in it, said the Lord of hosts. And a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry yet, saying, thus said the Lord of hosts, my cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and the Lord shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose
Ain't
Jerusalem.
that some all this cursing stuff we done went through? The Lord like, look, he's like, look, my cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and the Lord shall yet comfort Zion.
Right.
That's the mercy of the Lord. And shall yet choose Jerusalem, because we his chosen people. Verse 18, we'll go a little bit further.
Then lifted I up mine eyes and saw, and behold, four
It's
horns.
like, look, then I looked up and seen four horns. And see these four horns, these four Gentile kingdoms. You had Nebuchadnezzar with the Babylonian kingdom. Then you had the Medo-Persian Empire. Then you had the Greek Empire. Then you had the Roman Catholic Church in the time frame that we in, that's still dominating in rulership today. Let's go to the next chapter, Zechariah chapter 2. And we're going to pick up at verse 1. Zechariah chapter 2. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. And that's what horns mean. It means kings or rulers. That's what they're talking about. Zechariah 2 and verse 1. Okay? Read.
I lifted up mine eyes again, and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, whither goest thou? And he said unto me, to measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof. And behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him. And he said unto him, run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls for the multitude of men and cattle therein. For I, said the Lord, will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and will be the glory in the midst of her.
And see, when we read earlier in Deuteronomy 28, that all these other nations would be fearful of us, would fear us. And this is why, because see, the Lord would be a wall of fire. You see, that didn't happen, but he's like in the end, this is how he's going to establish and set this up. Verse 6.
Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, said the Lord, for I have spread you abroad as the four winds of heaven, said the Lord. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. For thus said the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me into the nations which spoiled you. For he that touches you touches the apple of his eye.
It's like, look, for he that touches you touches the apple of his eye. You touch something that belongs to the Lord, he's going to deal with you. See, this is the thing. See, all we went through. But he's like, look, he was a little displeased, but they forward the affliction. So he's going to do something about this thing. Let's go to Isaiah 51. We're going to pick it up at 17. Isaiah 51. And we're going to pick it up at verse 17. Because, yeah, we did what we did. And we inherited the curse. You know, but at the same time, the people who he used as an instrument got beside themselves. And they took on one, or taking on one to themselves as well, because judgment got to be done. Judgment, all men got to be judged. Isaiah 51 and verse 17. And when you get there, read.
Awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem, which has drunk at the hand of the Lord the cup of his fury. Thou hast drunken the dregs of the cup of trembling, and wrung them out. There is none to guide her among all the sons whom she hath brought forth, neither is there any that taketh her by the hand of all the sons that she hath brought her. These two things are coming to thee. Who shall be sorry for thee? Desolation and destruction, and the famine and the sword. By whom shall I comfort thee?
Like, look, destruction and famine and the sword, that's what's going to comfort. That's what's been comforting us. Skip down to verse 21 and continue.
Therefore, hear now this. thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine.
You see, we drunken because we drunken off this false doctrine.
Right.
We drunken because we conform to this world. That's how we drunken. You know, that's why I say drunken, but not with wine. Verse 22.
Thus said the Lord, the Lord and thy God, that pleaded the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out thine hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again.
He's like, look, I'm going to take that cup of that fury away from you, because I'm going to restore this, because the Lord made a covenant that he would bring us back into the land. So at the end time, he's going to reverse this thing. But we got a little time to go. We are in the last days. And that's why I say it's the right time to be coming to this truth, because more and more people are going to start waking up. Because we at the end. And he prophesied that more and more people are going to start waking up and identifying and knowing this truth. Because things going to get harder. And you're going to see what you've been believing in ain't quite doing the job, ain't quite doing the trick. That was 22, verse 23.
But I will put into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down, that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy body as the ground and as the street to them that went over.
Ain't that so? He's like, I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down that we may go over. We lay over a puddle or something, they just walk on us so they don't get their shoes dirty. And thou hast laid, and then we laid our body as the ground and as the street to them that went over. We did it. we took part in that. Let's go to Jeremiah. We just got two more in here. Jeremiah 16 and verse 14. I remember, like, I used to be, back in the day, young, and we used to do crazy stuff, of course. We get on the fence and hit a backwards flip off the fence or something. Then you have somebody that'll cuff you and flip you or whatnot. See, we've been cuffing them and flipping them into prosperity while we just down very low.
Right.
That's what's been going on. Jeremiah 16 and verse 14. And when you get there, read.
Therefore, behold, the days come, said the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth, that brought up children of Israel from the land of the north and from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I have gave unto their fathers.
It's like, look, but the Lord liveth, that brought up children of Israel from the land of the north and from the lands whither he had driven them. He's going to gather us back. And I will bring them again into their land that I have gave unto their fathers. That's what we just got to celebrate. The Feast of Tabernacles, meaning the Feast of Ingathering. Because see, all these feast days, they point to something that's going to happen in the end, a more symbolic and spiritual meaning to it. That was verse 15, 16, 15.
Behold, I will send for many fishers, said the Lord, and they shall fish them. And after I will send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks.
It's like, look, I'm going to send for fishers, people who know this truth, who got understanding, to start fishing people out in the world. And I was saying, I was like, look, we starting this thing up, but we got a journey on our hands. Because see, even though we know we Israelites, we got to let other people know that they Israelites. Because for the meantime, we're going to be going by a byword, and we're going to be acting like a byword, particularly the byword that starts with the word in and ends with the word either A or R. We're going to act like that until we know who we really are. That's the thing. That was 16, 17.
For my eyes are upon all their ways. They have not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from mine eyes.
I'm going to gather you, but I see what you did, so you're going to have to pay. Verse 18.
And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land, they have filled mine inheritance with the carcasses of the detestable and abominable things.
He's like, look, they have filled my carcasses with their detestable and abominable things, what they did. Verse 19.
O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies. vanity and things wherein there is no profit.
You know this ain't time. They ain't gonna do that right now. They got too much pride right now. It's like, look, the Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, from everywhere. And shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. So we know this is future. Verse 20.
Shall a man make gods unto himself, and they are no gods? Therefore, behold, I will this once cause them to know. I will cause them to know mine hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is the Lord.
Like, look, they don't know that I'm the Lord. Let's go to Joel chapter 3. Just got one more. Joel chapter 3. We're going to pick up at verse 1. Joel chapter 3 and verse 1. Like they say, many are called, but few are chosen. See, when you know the Lord, you just realize that the Lord is calling. You got to pick up the phone or answer the door. Or you can kind of miss this thing, miss your flight. Joel 3 and verse 1. Yeah. Right after the book of Hosea. Between Dan and Amos. Joel chapter 3 and verse 1. And when you get there, read.
For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land.
Like, look, I'm going to bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, because see, that's when Armageddon is going to take place. The second of the three last battles of the Lord. That's when this is going to take place. He's going to plead with all these people. Verse 3.
They have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink.
So we know who we're talking about. We know who did this. Look, they didn't have any money. Look, I got a slave boy. You know, give me that bottle of wine. Give me that whiskey, that fifth of whiskey for this slave boy I got. No, for the boy. I want to get that harlot right there. Take this boy. For some wine, take this slave girl that I got. For this, fifth of whiskey. That's something else. Let's go to the last place. Let's go to Isaiah 66 and we'll get it in verse 10. Because they let us know it was 3/5 of the land. See, we was more of a medium of exchange, like $1 or something like that, versus more of a people or, things of that sort. Isaiah 66, and we're going to pick up at verse 10. Isaiah 66 and verse 10. And when you get there, read.
Rejoice ye with Jerusalem, and be glad with her. All ye that love her, rejoice for her with her. All ye that mourn for her, that ye may suck and be satisfied with the breast of her consolations, that ye may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For thus saith the Lord, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the Gentiles like a flowing stream. Then shall ye suck, ye shall be borne upon her sides, and be downward upon her knees.
Like downward upon her knees. So just like you have a little child, a grandchild, little nephew, whatever, or a child, you bring them, sit them on your knee, take care of them. The Lord, like he's going to do it, he's going to nourish us at the end of this thing. Verse 13.
As one whom his mother comforted, so will I comfort you, and ye shall be comforted in Jerusalem.
He said you're going to be comforted in America. He didn't say you're going to be comforted in Europe.
Right.
Or Germany, or UK, wherever. He's like, you will be shall be comforted in Jerusalem. That's when our comfort don't come. When we get back to our homeland. Because see, this comfort right here, this is talking about the millennial period, 1,000 years of peace.
Okay.
This is where that comfort is going to come from. During that time, verse 14.
And when ye see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like an herb. And the hand of the Lord shall be known toward his servants, and his indignation toward his enemies. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire.
He said the Lord gonna sit in the booth and just be getting hugs and handshakes. He said the Lord gonna come like gonna come with fire, with his chariots of angels, like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. Verse 16.
For by fire and by his sword would the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many.
That's no, he's like, for by fire. He said we're gonna do it no more with water.
No.
See, that was during Noah's time.
Right.
That's why we see the rainbow in the sky as a covenant, as a token that he wasn't gonna do that anymore. This time he's gonna use some fire. And by his sword with the Lord pleaded with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. So hey, that was the lesson. The Israelites identified by their curses. And I hope you got something what I tried to bring. Peace in Jesus' name and happy Sabbath. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. So we like I said, we just getting everything. We ran into a couple of technical issues and whatnot. Was trying to get the live stream up and going. And since I just started it, found out that YouTube and Facebook and all of them, you gotta wait a whole 24 hours after you click start streaming. You gotta wait 24 hours before it actually works.
Right.
So I still got a chance to record it, and we'll convert it. What we'll do is we'll upload it there. But going forward, we'll be good for next week. We'll be able to do the live stream. You can log into the website, our web page, and live streamers and whatnot. So ran into some technical difficulty. I didn't know they had that provision in there like that, but we'll work through it. It's kind of normal. First time kind of getting everything going, run into some kind of technical difficulties or what have you. And like I said, we kind of work in progress. What we're doing is I have the announcements. I'll just kind of go through it. We don't really have much now, but anybody interested in getting baptized, I know a couple brothers mentioned that. What we'll do is we'll schedule. We won't do it next week, but we'll schedule that out probably 3 weeks to a month or so, and we'll go ahead and take care of that. We'll go ahead and get you baptized and do those things or whatnot. What else we have? Also for the tithing and everything, we had PayPal set up. I removed it. There was a bunch of issues going on with that. I got them resolved, but because of their customer service, I took it off. So what we have now is just the Cash App, and that's only for this weekend. But that's only until the software that I purchased for that is approved. So we got 2 more days. It takes 7 days. That'll be done by Monday or Tuesday. So what I'll do is I'll keep Cash App there, but we'll upload that button for that, and it'll take you to another portal, and everything should be good to go. So that functionality will be there on the web page coming soon. It should be about Monday, Tuesday at the latest. Right now, what we're doing, we're meeting here in this conference room. It's basically a temporary dwelling. We had to schedule out for a couple months. We still in looks for an actual building. We find one, we'll go ahead and we'll move to that. That'll be our location. So we still got our eyes off of that, but for the time being, we'll just be meeting here for now. And like I said, the Lord let you know, despise not the day of small beginnings. So we have pretty much everybody here who the Lord calls to be here. And I would consider everybody here pillars trying to come into this thing. So my prayer is that we all remain in this truth, if not here somewhere where they're dealing with the real true word of God. Because this, I always kind of envision this and see this as a portal or a bridge to get into that kingdom. This is big what we're doing. And I know it's going to turn out the way that it's going to, that I kind of see. I just have a good feeling about it because I just look at the footsteps of everything, how Satan's trying to stop me from getting this thing going. And sometimes, you just really have to look at what has happened, not what's happening. You can look at that, but look behind you, rewind the tape and see what happened along the way. And then kind of tell a story and let you know where you're headed. So it's a lot of things that went on. We had to really push through it, and thanks be to God that we got this thing finally going. This is, I'd say almost I want to say about 2.5, 3 years in the making. Just things just kept going on, but at the same time, you never late. You're always right on time. And I figured everything happened that needed to happen is going to take place when it needed to take place. So we got that going. Like I said, we'll have the announcements. We'll have all the dress codes, all these type of things going. We'll set everything up. And this thing is going to grow. We first week here, but this thing is going to grow. And we're going to get this word out. We're going to get the flyers. We're going to start putting boots to the ground, letting people know where we at. And like I say, as long as we dealing with the real, true word of God, Yeah, we can pass out flaws, but we know one thing: as long as we're dealing with this word the right way, the Lord and His angels are gonna pass out those flaws for us, and they're gonna let people know where we at, and we dealing with this true word of God, because we're gonna deal with this right word, the right way only. So we got that going, and what we'll do, I'll get with the brothers who, after class, and for the process of anybody who wants to be baptized, what I envision doing is kind of meeting with them after class, and what you can do if you want to get baptized, let myself know, Brother King, the secretary, Sister Nikki, let her know, and we'll get that schedule and kind of get everything going for that. But what I envision doing for baptism is kind of just going over scriptures, letting them know the commitment of what this is all about, what we're saying we're going to do once we get baptized. Because once we get baptized, we wash all those old sins away. But everything from that time forward, look, that's what you're going to be judged by. And that's when the battle comes on. So, unlike a lot of people, I just want to make sure as a watchman, let people know what comes with the territory. Because oftentimes people just want to get baptized just to get baptized. But see, you're saying that you're going to all these laws, statutes, commandments, you're going to do them. And you can do this and get baptized and say, I do make this vow with the Lord, and get yourself cut off by not keeping it. Like what we was reading in this lesson, the cursing that's fell upon us. Making a vow with the Lord from that standpoint, and turning away after you come into this truth. See, there ain't no reversing of that. There ain't no reversing of that. That's that, basically. So I like to go over scriptures and make sure that everybody is fully committed and understand what they're doing. Let them know what it is, what it isn't, the benefits, the consequences. Because I don't like to lie, tell people that this is going to be, your life is just going to be better. Look, when you get some understanding, look, basically all hell going to break loose at some point. It's going to break loose. Because all of a sudden you're going to have that blind eye, and those deaf ears going to be open. You're going to see things you never seen before. You're going to see some things. And you're going to wonder, why am I following the Lord and I'm seeing all these things happen like this? This don't make sense. But when we read them, we don't do lessons to show. When these things happen, you're on the right track. You're heading in the right direction. Because haters only hate on you when you're doing something good. That's the way this world is upside down. It's only when you're doing something good, when things you run against the most resistance, because the world is going the opposite direction. You trying to make it up an escalator, everybody else coming down. So you being met with resistance, and then Satan know who you are. He know who you are, and this is a spiritual war that we in. So I like to go over those things for baptism, let them know what we get into, what they expect. Because look, I've told people, and they're like, look, you right. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to do that right now. That's going to happen. So I like to point people in the right direction, the expectations. That way you don't lose your faith and go astray. Because at the same time, we've been living wrong for years, and we done mastered that. We done learned that. So now we're trying to learn how to do this thing right for the Lord as we go. So that's a challenge in addition to the obstacles, trials and tribulations, vicissitudes of life, all these things, the tests that we have to identify as such. So I like to kind of go through all that and show the expectation how this thing is going to go. So we'll get that lined out. And like I said, we got most of the stuff. We got the 2023 feast days on the web page. That's there. I put that on there. So that's there. We got all the time, the schedules that we'll be meeting. To be the Lord will, we'll be in the building by then. But if not, we still going to make this thing work. Right now, we're in the season of the heathen, like what the brother said. We're in the season of the heathen, so we're looking at October, the end of October. We got Halloween next week or something? Somewhere around there. It's coming up soon, and we got Thanksgiving, and we got Christmas. So we got some months before the first feast day of the Lord at the beginning of the new year, the biblical new year, which is the Passover. So we're going to do it the right way, and then after that, we got unleavened bread. So we got all the feast days and times when we plan on doing. We got that on the web page. So we got a couple of things. Like I said, we ran into an issue with the video stream, but we're going to work all that out. And hopefully we have that going. But I will upload it, and what I'll do is send it out to everybody. That way we'll have a copy. And it'll be for free. We doing this thing willingly. and without charge. So we ain't charging nobody for this word of God. You know, we not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. You know, I'm not doing that. So we trying to awaken people and open a blind eye and whatnot. So we not charging for this word of God. What else we got? I think that's it. And I say for the time being, what I'll do on the webpage, I kind of got it laid out with the events, the date. We'll be meeting at 12 every Sabbath. And what I kind of have laid out on the website is the dates of when we're going to meet. I kind of have all that lined out. And I'll continually update that. And if we, for whatever reason, have to be in a different conference room, I'll update that and I'll make sure I communicate that with everyone. That way we'll be in the right location. We won't be next door where they kind of, you know, some false stuff going on. But if we walk in there, you should know we're in the wrong location if that happens. But we'll get all that ironed out. And that's it. I think that's all I can think of right now. What we'll do is after the lesson, we'll do question and answer. Anybody got any questions or whatnot about the day's lesson or anything else, we'll hold over for that. But if that's it, we'll go ahead and close out. We'll go ahead and close out. So actually everybody stand and we'll face the east, face Jerusalem.
Our Father,
Our Father,
which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
In earth, as it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day.
Give us this day
our daily bread.
our daily bread.
And forgive us our debts.
And forgive us our debts.
As we forgive our debtors.
As we forgive our debtors.
Lead us not.
Lead us not
into temptation.
into temptation.
But deliver us.
But deliver us
from evil.
from evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
For thine is the kingdom,
The power and the glory.
and the power and the glory,
Forever.
forever.
In Jesus' holy name.
In Jesus' holy name.
We pray. Amen.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Praise the Lord.